Peace, I'm Hawaii Mike. Welcome to another episode of Mask Off. Today, our guest is an award-winning radio show host, a podcast host, an entrepreneur, an investor, the first ambassador of the New York Public Library.
Oh, yes, indeed.
Right? And also has her own day in NYC, August 28th, none other than Angela Yee.
Oh, a pleasure to be here. Thank you for that intro.
So usually we start with the guest name because people have like a stage name.
Mm-hmm. I don't have a stage name.
I know. You got a middle name?
I do.
Okay, what's your middle name? Let's go with that.
It's May, M-A-E.
Okay, where's that from? That's got to be an auntie's name or something.
I think it came from my grandmother.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so let's go back. Life. Where did it start? Growing up, what was the family life like? All that good stuff.
So I'm from Brooklyn, and it's nice that we're in Brooklyn now.
Yep.
I'm from Flatbush, and so I was actually born in Brooklyn Maimonides Hospital, which is nice because now we do work with them at iHeart. So it's amazing to be able to do stuff at the hospital where you were born. And went to PS 235. So I went to public school until I was in 6th grade, and then I was in a program prep for prep. So I ended up going to private school. After that, I went to Poly Prep. I'm the younger sister, so my brother Brian also went to the same schools that I went to until we moved to Jersey when I was in 10th grade, and then I went to Columbia High School.
Nice. And then who'd you move with? Both of your parents, or?
Yeah, both of my parents. And went to Wesleyan University in Middletown, Connecticut.
Don't get too far.
So just giving you the education resume.
That's a quick one. I know Wesleyan, so you always wanted to be a writer then probably, right? Or something like that. Most people I know that went to Wesleyan or wanted to be writers.
Yes, you know the creator of White Lotus went to Wesleyan. And Lin-Manuel
I'm
Miranda.
not even up on White Lotus, honestly. I just know one of my peoples helps on the marketing services side.
Can you please?
I gotta go watch that.
Get with it, yeah, because they just ended the 3rd season, and they already are on the 4th season.
Yeah,
I heard even the 5th.
I haven't even got there yet. All right, so when did like the aspirations to get in entertainment kind of get involved?
I would say it happened really when I was in college, and it wasn't necessarily an aspiration, but I did a lot of internships. And so I interned at TVT Records, which...
what years was this? Like what songs were out? Like what artists?
Let me see. I think Mike Geronimo was on there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, remember Mike Geronimo was like the first person to do reality TV.
Was he?
Much. Yeah, he had a reality show on MTV.
I don't even remember.
It was kind of like a Real World type thing, and I think that came... But anyway, Mike Geronimo was on there. Before I was there, I feel like Ja Rule was there too. He had a deal there. But TVT...
But he was in a group there, wasn't he?
Yeah. And TVT stood for TV Tunes. And so they did a lot of the TV cartoon theme songs. And so I interned there. Randomly, I interned in the legal department. So after that, I interned at MTV for Fred Jordan.
Oh, R.I.P. Fred.
Yes, Fred Jordan. That was my guy.
That was a lot of people's guy.
Yeah, he lived in Jersey City, and so did I. So a lot of times we would like catch a cab back from the city to Jersey. He'll be like, "Where you at? All right, let's meet up." And we would just catch a cab because it was so expensive going through the tunnel and taking a cab. Now we got Ubers and stuff. But anyway, I interned there, and then I also interned for Wu-Tang. And so I would say that both Fred and my internship at Wu-Tang played an integral part in me later on getting jobs in the music business. But it wasn't an aspiration, it just kind of happened.
Okay. Were you always into hip hop? Like, what was the other forms of music you got into before that?
I was into everything. I think growing up in Brooklyn, I always loved hip hop. Like, I used to love, UTFO crew and Salt and Pepper and Roxanne, Shantae, and all of that. But I will say that hip hop used to only come on the radio for like a certain period of time. It would have like an hour on the radio that you had to catch it. Mm. And so we heard everything. Like we would listen to Z100 and stuff. And I feel like maybe BLS also. I think 95.5 was a thing for us back then, but we did listen to like a lot of the heavy metal, like big hair music, because you had to hear like Def Leppard.
MTV days, right?
And Guns N' Roses and Motley Crue and all of that. So I definitely early on was familiar with all of that and liked it.
Okay.
And of course, like the good 80s music.
Okay. Like that pop stuff, some Aha, some
Depeche
Mode.
Take On Me. Yeah.
Okay. What song that just came up on the show? It's Adolescence. I was just watching Adolescence.
Oh, you're watching? I haven't seen it. Now you watched that, but not White Lotus. That's interesting.
Dang, that sounds like shots. And I skipped over one thing. What's your ethnic background again?
So my dad is Chinese, and my mom is from an island called Montserrat in the Caribbean.
Okay. Where's that?
It's in the Lesser Antilles. It's right near Antigua. So if you fly to Antigua, then you got to take a little tiny plane. It's like a 15-minute plane ride on an 8-passenger plane.
Oh, wow. Have you got to spend a lot of time there?
We went there every summer and every Christmas growing up.
Okay. Do you have a big family on that side?
I think a lot of people on that island are related. So if you just say the last name, people are like, oh yeah, that's my cousin's cousin. So yes, on that side. But my mom is an only child. So I didn't have a lot of cousins on that side because of that. But my grandfather, definitely had a big family, my grandparents.
Okay.
And then my dad is like one of 9. So there's a lot of them.
And did you spend a lot of time with that side of the family as well? Like, what was more of the influence? Was it more the Caribbean side or more the Chinese side?
I would say that here in New York, because my whole family lives in New York, I would say that we did definitely celebrate Chinese New Year.
Okay.
Definitely see that side of my family, for Thanksgiving, for Christmas, and culturally, like weddings that I go to or funerals. There's a lot of influence there. But as far as going to visit someplace, I've never been to China.
Okay.
So, but I have been to Montserrat a lot.
But you was in Flatbush. So
Flatbush is like being in the West Indies.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But there's also a lot of Chinese in all over the Caribbean.
Yeah, not so much. I don't.
What you mean?
In Flatbush?
No, not in Flatbush. I'm saying in the Caribbean.
In the Caribbean, yes.
No, for sure. So
yeah,
I'm saying
Montserrat, I think, had one Chinese restaurant.
That's it?
But it's a small island.
I mean, everywhere I've been, Dominican Republic, there's influence in Jamaica, it's all over.
Yeah, definitely. But Montserrat, not a whole lot.
Okay. But was it different for you celebrating that culture in Flatbush?
Well, we really went to Queens because all of that stuff was in Queens. And so I think that's an area like Flushing.
Yep.
It's, very.
That's where my Lola lived, was in Flushing. Like every Filipino or Chinese ends up in Flushing.
Exactly. So, going over there, because my grandparents didn't even really speak English.
Oh.
So it's kind of like being in that community. It's like being Dominican in Uptown.
Did you get a chance to speak? Like learn how to speak the language?
Not really, because they weren't that accepting of me and my brother for being half Black.
So how was that then? Like,
I mean, my aunts and uncles were fine.
Yeah.
It was just like my grandparents, and they didn't really speak English anyway, so it was never like a comfortable situation because we couldn't communicate that well.
So did they make your dad like outcast to feel, or like feel like an outcast?
Probably. I mean, I think after a while they got over it, but they definitely didn't go to the wedding or anything like that.
No, I got a few people that mixed that way as well, and there was definitely that issue.
Yeah, I think that culturally, the way that they make us look as far as Black people, when the representations in other countries, sometimes it makes us look like, what they show on television and what they say about us is why people have a negative stereotype.
Yeah, I mean, that's tough as a kid too, especially being mixed, you know what I'm saying? Like you want to be accepted by everybody, but when your family's like a little...
But I thank goodness I grew up the way that I grew up, like in a neighborhood like in Flatbush. And listen, they'll make fun of you there for being half Chinese. So you get it from both ends.
Yeah.
Because it's not like there was a lot of Chinese people in Flatbush.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure that's where you develop your tough skin. You're able to do what you do now.
Able to crack a lot of jokes, take a lot of jokes, deal with a lot.
Yeah. What about religion, spirituality? How was that in your household?
So my grandfather was extremely religious on my mom's side.
Okay.
He was like a missionary too. And so everything like Bibles, I still have Bibles that my grandfather gave me. We used to have to go to church all the time. But when he left and moved back to Montserrat, my mom kind of stopped going to church. So he would say that my father was a heathen and that he made my mom stop going to church. But definitely, that was an influence for me when I was younger. But then when my parents weren't going, we weren't necessarily going either.
All right. So when you had to move to Jersey, was that a culture shock for you?
Absolutely. I cried so hard. Because the only place I ever lived was in Brooklyn on the same block since I was a kid. So it was like, I did not know one person. And so when we moved there, it was just so suburban, these houses, trees everywhere. Had to start at a new school. And the day that I went to the new school, my mom took me, but she didn't know the teachers were on strike. So we pull up to the school, all the teachers are outside. It's a mess. I'm not even registered because nobody was working because they're all on strike. So she just left me there and we just sat in one room all day. I didn't have a classroom assigned to me. They just put me in a classroom. And that's where I met one of my best friends, who's still one of my best friends to this day. She was in the classroom listening to Tony on her headphones. And, you know, Jamil, she was really nice. She was my first friend, and we're still friends.
What are some of those moments from childhood you feel like shaped who you are today?
I think, well, you brought up being the first ever ambassador for the New York Public Library. I used to read a lot, so the library was a big deal for me. And even for holidays, when I would go see my family, I always had like books with me, so I would just sit there and read the whole time. So I was always really big into reading when I was younger. I wasn't that into television, oddly enough. My brother was more like a TV type person. I was definitely the outside, like wanna be outside playing in the street. I was a real tomboy growing up. And so that was my thing, like, let's go outside, let's skateboard, you know, let's play tag and catch and all of the handball, everything.
Okay, though, I mean, well, Jersey's a lot better for skateboarding than Brooklyn is.
Well, you know what, that was more of a Brooklyn thing. By the time I got to Jersey, I was like 15 years old, so it was a little different. Like when I was growing up in Brooklyn, I was playing basketball. I also was at Poly Prep, and sports were really big there. And so I played field hockey. My dad was just talking about that. I was inner forward. I played field hockey. I was a point guard in basketball. So I played a lot of sports. I ran track. I think I learned how to do a lot of things just because, you know, being at a school like Poly Prep, they're going to make you either take gym or play a sport. And playing sports was actually really fun. It's a real bonding thing. You know, on that bus, going to away games. It was really fun.
Dope. So then Jersey was just a skip to college.
Yeah, Jersey. So I only went to school there 10th and 11th grade, and then I went back to Brooklyn.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, so I was there for 2 years. Those 2 years made a big impression on my life because Jersey life is so different than Brooklyn. I just feel like it was a lot more suburban, but we had to take driver's ed, so I learned how to drive. A lot of my friends didn't know how to drive in New York because we didn't really drive.
You don't have to take driver's ed here, right?
No.
Okay.
But it's
I'm from Cali, so.
Yeah, it's part of the curriculum in New Jersey. So I got my license like on my birthday, and you know, actually, it's just different. Like being in New Jersey, people hang out outside a lot, and they drive, like they all drive and hang out in a parking lot. Or like drive, because we were too young to get in the club. So you would drive and like kind of like be outside the club. There was a place, I remember we used to go to this White Castle, and all the people, because stolen cars is a big thing back then. And I don't know if you ever saw New Jersey Drive, but they used to drive like the stolen cars, and they would do tricks. Everybody would be outside like cheering them on, and the police would chase them, and then they would come spinning back around the block. It was a wild time growing up.
Yeah, okay.
But Brooklyn was not, obviously nothing like that.
So how'd you make it back to Brooklyn? You guys just ended up moving back to Brooklyn?
Well, the story is that I did really well in school, but I didn't like to go to school. So when I started going to public school, my parents we lived in South Orange. My parents still worked in the city, so they were never really around. Like they would get up, get on the train, and they wouldn't get back till nighttime. So I used to cut school a lot. And we would be like at my house, like my parents would leave and I would pretend I was going to school, and then I would just do something else. And so we had a lot of hooky parties, and I got caught. And so I remember this, I was a straight A student, but I wasn't going to class. And it was so bad I almost got left back. They were like, she missed 30 something days of school. My mom was like, that's impossible. And that's how I got caught, and it was on Valentine's Day because I was supposed to have a date and then I couldn't go. But I got caught on Valentine's Day, and after that, my mom was like, you can't do this anymore, and you're going back to Brooklyn. So they sent me back to Poly Prep.
But who was in Brooklyn? You was living in Jersey and going to Brooklyn? Or you?
Yeah, so I had to commute.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
From South Orange?
But my brother was already doing that. My brother was doing that before, so he never left. Like when we moved to New Jersey, we still had the house in Brooklyn for a little while. So he and my mom were in Brooklyn, me and my dad were in New Jersey. So then he only for like 1 year had to commute, but we had a bus that picked us up. So we would have to take the New Jersey Transit train to the PATH train to the bus to get to school. It was a long commute.
Damn, that's crazy. But your parents are still together, or they split?
So they are divorced now, but back then they were still married, but they still live together, but they are divorced.
Wait, what?
Yeah, they got divorced, but they just, I don't know, I think they got used to each other.
Okay, yeah, that's different. All right, so now take us to college. Get to college, you want to be a writer?
So I went to college, I went to Wesleyan as an English major.
Yep.
And yes, the goal was to be a writer. I wanted to write fiction, and then I took screenwriting, so I really wanted to write like screenplays. I took playwriting, so I also wanted to write. I just wanted to write. Like, I like the idea of just how people like conversation. Because I know when you read, I've read a lot of scripts, and I know like action movies doesn't have a lot of dialogue, but I really like comedies and I love horror movies. And so that was something I wanted to do. So I really went to school thinking I was going to be a writer. And when I graduated, it just, I wrote things, like I've written for magazines and I've written bios for artists, but not the way that I wanted to.
Do you think you'll ever visit that?
Yeah, for sure.
It's on the plans? You got a couple screenplays written already?
It's absolutely happening.
Okay, good.
Absolutely.
All right, so then you're interning at Wu-Tang. How do you become Divine's assistant?
So I interned for Wu-Tang when I was in college for Wu-Tang management.
Okay.
So Mook was the manager. And so I interned in Staten Island for him. And when I graduated from college, I was actually, I was temping. I did this temp work for like 3 days, and then I was like, I hate this. I can't do it anymore. That was my goal. I was like, I'm going to temp, and then I'll become a writer while I'm temping. I have this day job that I don't care about, and then when I come home, I'll just write and be like creative. But I just didn't like being there. It was awful. So I quit after 3 days.
Well, what was the temp job?
It was
what
like,
were you doing?
quote unquote, data entry. So it was like an office building, no windows. You're not allowed to use the phone. And you just sit there like opening envelopes and sorting things. It was awful.
Oh, that's real temp work. Okay.
It was so bad. I was like, I hate this. This can't be my life. And so I quit that. And then I had a job interview in the city. So I went to the job interview, and then afterward, I went to go visit the Wu-Tang office. And Divine was like, oh, we've been trying to find you. I wanted to hire you as my assistant.
Oh.
And it was that easy. And it was the day of Summer Jam.
So what year was this? This was like 95, 4?
97.
Oh, 97? I thought it was earlier than that.
So I went to Summer Jam that day that I went to the office in my suit that I had just came back from an interview from. And that was the day, that was the Summer Jam where Wu-Tang got banned from Hot 97. Because they like cursed everybody out.
Doesn't sound like them at all.
They were like, Hot 97.
So what were those days like? What was the average day for you doing Wu-Tang around then?
So the average day, once I started working there for Divine, was get up, go to the office, always the first one there. So I would get there. We were supposed to be there at 10. So I always got there like a little bit before 10. Literally, nobody would come to work for hours. I would be like there by myself, answering the phones, doing whatever had to be done, taking everybody's calls, connecting things, typing up emails. We had fax machines then.
Of course.
I was always faxing things out.
Was it still the roll fax, or was it the paper by then?
I think it was still, we had both. I think we graduated to the paper during that time.
Nah, I always remember getting the Source magazine fax when they sent that out when everybody walked out.
And
the first
like
My
a
Squad.
roll.
It was like a scroll. You're like opening the shit up like that.
But it was a really fun job. It was on 99 University Place. And so it was like the guys' second home. So somebody would be there every day. No matter what, the guys were always coming through. It was like family in that office. And a lot of their family did work there too. So it'd be like, this cousin works here, this cousin's doing this. So it was a really cool first job to have. I remember my friends from college being jealous.
I'm sure.
Like, you have the coolest job. I hate my job.
I'm sure. Was that when Loud was still on Broadway, like around the corner from there?
I think it was Loud on 5th Avenue.
No, they were on Broadway. Then they went to Lexington.
Oh, maybe it was Lexington.
So because I know the first office was like Broadway.
Lexington.
Well, the first office was in RCA, then it was Broadway, then it was, I think, Lex. It was next to Vibe.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I don't know why I felt like it was on 5th Avenue, but yes, that's when.
No, it was definitely, because I remember the addresses. It was 215 and 205. I forget who was who.
I just remember Steve Rifkin had all the security to even get in.
Always. I mean, everybody was trying to see him. Everybody had beef with him. And so I'm sure you ended up doing more than just being an assistant.
Yes. So basically, I learned a lot from that job, though, which I was grateful for because they for sure gave me a lot of responsibility. As a young 21-year-old, coming out of college, it was nice because Divine wasn't in the office that frequently, and the guys were on tour. So I did get to go to like some of the tour dates. I remember for a period of time, Divine wanted me to also go in the studio and do they had reels at that time. Okay. So he wanted me, I was like, look, I can't be here in the morning and be in the studio at night. Like I got, a life.
I gotta get my beauty sleep.
And also I never was big on being in the studio. Some people love being in the studio. That wasn't really like my passion. I liked actually being in the office. And so, yeah, I learned how to do a lot. Like I dealt with payroll, I dealt with attorneys. I mean, I literally was dealing with the CEOs of record labels at that time. And so I remember having to talk to Ron Sweeney, having to talk obviously to Steve Rifkin, Sylvia Rohn, like all, because the guys were all on different labels.
Yep.
At that time I met Leora Cohen, that's when I met Bimmy, Kevin Lyles, like all of those people just from working in this one office because everybody was someplace different.
Dope. Which gave you a lot of relationships you still
It
have
did,
to
yes.
this day, right? But how was like the respect factor, you being a female plus you being so young? Everybody treated you good because you was coming from Wu-Tang, or was it still tough?
I think it was, you know what, I will say I don't have any horror stories about that.
Okay.
It was cool because I was always used to being around a lot of guys. I'm a younger sister. Like I said, I was a real tomboy growing up.
Yep.
And so it was never really an issue. Divine was also really protective of me.
Yeah.
Like if he felt like anybody was talking to me crazy, the only person who would talk crazy sometimes was ODB, but that's just how he talks.
Yeah, that's different.
Yeah, like literally.
It's rare anybody could control him.
But he was cool. He was a funny person.
Yep.
And Divine would be like, Dirty, leave her alone.
Yeah.
But other than that, everybody was really respectful. And so I'm appreciative of that. Like they were honestly really good to me. I never had any beef with any of them. If anything, they always looked out. If I was out with them, they wouldn't even let guys talk to me. It was like, nah, you ain't going.
So you was a little sis.
Yeah, they was not letting anything happen. So I felt really protected.
That's dope.
And you know, it's interesting because when I first took that job, I was a little nervous to be working with guys.
Yep.
But they were the exact opposite of what you would think. It's like the more corporate guys that I think are worse in some ways.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I expect Dirty was the expected one. I was trying to see if somebody else was giving you problems.
No, they were good. Divine was great. RZA was great. I just saw RZA the other day. Honestly, like it was really an amazing first job just from the networking I got. And my best friend Santi, she was working at Epic, and I remember her being like, because I actually had an opportunity to work at Sony, and she was like, take the job at Wu-Tang. Mm-hmm. She was like, if you come to Sony, they're gonna be like not wanting you to do anything. You're gonna be answering the phone, and that's it. Because people here are very threatened by somebody else coming in. They think everybody wants their job. Yep. She was like, you'll have a lot more freedom over there.
And like you said, they was working with so many different labels, so the exposure you got to get and those relationships you got to build was priceless.
I learned all about endorsements. I remember Mountain Dew was sponsoring their tour, and so they got a nice check from that. Yep. I just remember watching all of those things and like figuring out how it worked. You know, they had a production company, like the back of my business card, it was like Wu-Tang Productions, Wu-Tang Publishing, Wu-Tang Management, Wu-Wear. It was so many different companies, Razor Sharp Records. It was just all these different things. So it kind of helped me also understand the different streams of income that somebody has coming in, you know, from not just having a label deal, but it's also publishing. Yep. You know, it's also signing other artists. It's also, you know, just a lot of different things. The clothing line, because I think Wu-Wear was super early on too. And when they had the store, and everybody wanted that Wu-Wear clothing.
Yep. Yeah, and Power's he's a beast.
Yeah.
Did you have to deal with Udi at all? On the
a little bit, not too much. That was more Power's thing, and that was like a Wu-Wear thing.
Yeah, nah, for sure. So how long were you there, and then what was the next thing after that?
So I was there, so like I said, I interned there, then I worked there after school, and after I graduated from college. Then my next job was working for D'Angelo, and that was a Fred Jordan hookup.
Okay.
So Fred was like, Ange, we got to get you like in a different space. You know, my boy is starting his label with D'Angelo on the label. It's called Chiba Sounds. He was like, you know, they want to hire you as the general manager. And I was really young. I was, you know, in my early 20s. To be the general manager at a label just sounded amazing to me. And it was D'Angelo. D'Angelo coming off after Brown Sugar, you know, getting ready for his next album. People were excited about him. And so I left, and I felt so bad quitting. I remember going to talk to Divine, and he was like, you're doing a great job. And I was like, well, I'm gonna have to do that somewhere else. And I was sad to leave. And, you know, I still think sometimes that was not the best decision. I did it for financial reasons because they paid me a lot more at that time. But you know, it was like the worst job.
Yeah, it didn't shake out and become what you thought it was going to be at all.
No, that was awful.
Nothing after that first album for D'Angelo was what you thought it was going to be. Like we had so much high aspirations for him.
It wasn't D'Angelo that was the problem, though. I think for me, it was the people I had to be in the office with. I think they were just not good people. Mm-hmm. And I was so used to being on the side of things where the artist was the priority and they were family. This situation was like, let's take advantage of this artist and let's run up his money and I'm gonna go get this expensive apartment. Oh, just put it on D'Angelo. It was really bad. And, it just was not a good environment. If we could talk about a record label that felt like it was misogynistic, it was just awful.
Okay, so you had some of the issues most people thought you would have had at Wu-Tang.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. It was the opposite. Wu-Tang was a dream. And then I left and went there, and it was like a nightmare.
So it's not always about the money.
It's not. It's definitely not always about the money. Right. But sometimes things are hard to predict, because at that time, you would think going to work for D'Angelo would be like, okay, this is amazing. Brown Sugar was a classic album. Yeah. And so I was excited about that. But I don't even think that D'Angelo necessarily even respected the people, that were running his label, because he literally was an electric lady, rented out that studio. He had musicians come into work. He had rented all this equipment. But really they did it for him and he just was not even showing up. And then, they would want to hear the music and he'd be like, no, you can't hear the music. So imagine your artist doesn't even respect you as a business person and they have no idea, like they're just running up his money. And to me, it's kind of like, if you can't have a mutually respectful relationship with your artist, it's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah, especially when you're the label and the partner and all that. Like, nah, it's no bueno. He was such the golden child. I remember his first show in New York was at Supper Club, and that's the one Prince got shut out of.
Oh, I think I was there.
Yeah.
I think me and Santi went to that.
Like Steph found, who was his manager? What was his manager's name?
Dom.
Yeah, he found his bracelet or some shit. He had lost his bracelet, and like Steph found his bracelet.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was crazy. That show was nuts. Like I'll never forget that.
But so talented. And actually, I met Anthony Hamilton when I was working there, because Anthony Hamilton used to be on the road with him. Okay. And so I remember Anthony Hamilton. He is a person that definitely saw and knew how bad it was for me, and he was very empathetic toward me. I remember him one day just being like, Angela, I'm so sorry. Like, it was bad.
So how long did that last?
Oh, I don't even know if that lasted a year. That didn't end well for me. I mean, it did in retrospect, because look where.
Well, you sound like you learned a lot.
Yeah,
a lot of it not what to do, and a lot of those things. Like sometimes we need those lessons also. When everything's going perfect, sometimes you don't know what can go wrong.
And I looked at certain things, like I remember Dom's partner was this guy, Stan. He was like this older white guy who was so misogynistic, like disgusting, awful. And I remember the guys that worked in the mailroom, he was so rude to them. And every single day, and they were so nice, Eddie and Andrew. And every day he would get his mail from them. They come and they have conversations. They're really the ones that know everything that's going on, right? And so they were super cool with me, and he never knew their names. Like, you've been working here how long? He'll be like, hey, guy. And one day they were like, yo, my name's Eddie. Like, what the, you know what I'm saying? Like, why are you talking to me like that? But it was just disrespectful, but it was just a condescending manner in the way that they treated people. It was something that never could sit well with me. And even talking about your artist the way, like, you know how people can look at you and be like a stupid artist. He's a dumb artist. He don't know any better. It's like that. And I don't respect that, because, this is the person that the reason you even have a label deal is because of him. Yeah.
So after that was?
So
you ran from that.
I left there, and the next thing I did was I went to work at a marketing company. And that was Avenue B Marketing, was the name of the company.
I remember that name, but who was Avenue B?
It was an urban marketing company. And so some of the clients were Heineken, Varsity Clothing. Who else did they have? They had Sprint. They had the New York Liberty at that time. They were at the Garden.
Dang, the Liberty been around that long?
Willie Esco.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who owned it again? I feel like I know who owned it.
His name was Barry. Barry Bookhart.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And his cousin was Jay Irving.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. How long did that last?
So that lasted a little while. And I think I definitely learned a lot from that. Like I was the person that was writing up all of the marketing proposals to get the clients.
Okay.
And I was the one that had to like do a lot of the running around. So I would be at the New York Liberty Games. I would be at these events for Heineken. I would be doing product placement for Varsity Clothing. Yep. I was doing all of the work. So interestingly enough, the way that job ended was I made a deal with him because they really weren't paying me a lot and I was working like 7 days a week. And I told them, I said, look, if you can allow me to do other things and bring in more money because y'all are not paying me enough, then I'm okay. But if, that's the only way I can continue to sustain myself. So they said, okay, but then they got mad when I started doing other stuff. So it was during that time that I started working with Nile Rodgers.
Okay.
And his distribution label was Something Else Distribution. So I started doing some stuff with Nile. And then, and Nile Rodgers, Nile from Chic, he's amazing, like just as a human being.
I mean, I never got to meet him, but obviously I know who he is.
When I tell you one of the best people I've ever met in my life is Nile Rodgers.
Okay.
And so I started working with him, but then I also, the breaking point was I did an album release party for GZA, and Mark Ronson DJ'd at it. It was super early on. And they got so mad at me at the marketing company. It was like, and the way that I am, I do not like for people to talk to me crazy. It's just my thing. Like ever since I was young, I would like shut down if somebody tries to like scream on me, curse, like whatever. That's something that in relationships and work, I don't deal with that. And so I remember he got mad at me one day and just yelled at me. I took my laptop and just left and never came back. And finally, that was it for me. And then I started freelancing after that. And so when I left, Niall hired me, but I didn't want to get another full-time job. And so I took a job with him, marketing, because he was actually starting a hip hop label. He wanted to do I know, it's so random. And he had one group that he really wanted me to work on. They were from Paterson, New Jersey. And so I started doing that. But then I also got a couple of the clients that were from the marketing company actually wanted to come with me. So they were like, I didn't even think about doing that, but they were like, look, we like working with you. Can we hire you directly? And so I ended up getting Varsity Clothing from that. I got another couple of clients, Shot Brothers. They do the leather jackets. Thanks to this woman, Sataris, who was working with me at the time. And so I had gotten I got a tech startup company. It was called MH2O. So I had like a bunch of different clients and I was doing really well financially.
Oh, you were by yourself doing this or did you have to hire people?
I was doing it by myself.
Oh, nice. I don't even remember this time. What years was this?
Ooh, I couldn't even tell you what year it was. It's all a blur, but I didn't know anything about doing my taxes or anything. I was just getting checks and I was so happy. Did
you handle your taxes?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm saying at that time, I just didn't know. I'm just like I'm not even thinking about, obviously later on people like, you owe this on your taxes. So that's been, taken care of.
And so when did management happen? Was there anything before that?
So remember, I started at Wu-Tang Management.
Yeah.
So when I left, some of them, I was still like helping do stuff. And so I ended up managing GZA. And the way that that happened was he was going on tour in Europe. And the person that was on tour with him could not get a passport for whatever reason, wasn't allowed to travel. And so at the last minute, literally like 2 days before he was leaving for tour, I had to go on tour. And so I didn't have a passport. So I had to go get my passport like overnight, get my passport. And I ended up after that just managing him because I had to go on the tour and handle everything.
And how long did that last?
Oh, I did that for a while.
Yeah.
Like I definitely worked with GZA for a really long time. Like to this day, that's still my boy.
Oh, for real?
Mm-hmm.
But y'all don't still work together?
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
No,
I was like,
no.
wait a second. What?
He's doing great though. He's like, he's definitely a genius. So even as far as like these colleges that he's speaking at and working on these chess apps and things like that, he's in his zone in the place that he needs to be.
Okay. Well, it's 30 years, right? This liquor store is 95.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? Damn. Yeah, because Mobb Deep's 30 years this year. Smith & Wesson was 30 years this year. There's a lot of these 30s this year.
Yeah, everybody's 30.
Yep. and then who else management? I know Jay.
Oh,
right?
Jay Electronica. Yeah, that came later, me working with Jay Electronica. But I met Jay Electronica because he was a photographer for this Greedy Genius photo shoot. If you remember that clothing line.
No, yeah, it's my people. Mikhail.
Yeah, Mikhail, yes.
Yeah, no, Mick is one of my oldest. I've known Mick forever.
So Mikhail and Joseph,
Yeah.
And so they called me to do a photo shoot. So Jay Electronica was a photographer.
No way. I gotta talk to Mick about this. Yo, Mick, I don't remember this. That's crazy.
Yeah, him and Ringo. And so they were the photographers. And so at the time, Jay was living in Brooklyn.
Okay.
And so after the shoot, I dropped them off in Brooklyn. And then we kind of just stayed in touch on AIM, because really what it was they wanted him to get on Don't Quit Your Day Job. I had a segment at Sirius called Don't Quit Your Day Job.
Okay.
And it was for up and coming artists. So Drake was on it back then. Machine Gun Kelly was on it when he was like 16 years old. He still like remembers. I remember I interviewed him for YRB magazine. And he's like, I couldn't believe I did that. I sucked when I was on the radio back then. Who else? Like a lot of people did Don't Quit Your Day Job back then. I think Mims did it back then. But anyway, he wanted to get on there. So they kept like, when can we do this? When can we? And, that never materialized, but we always stayed in touch. And then when he moved back to New York, like years later, he tried to put together a whole management team. It was like a few of us that he wanted us to all come together and be part of the team. And at the end of it all, I was the only one I told him, I said, I have a full job, but if you need help, I'll just help you. And then it turned into him going on Twitter and being like, Angela Yee is my manager. And then I think he put my phone number on here.
Damn, okay. And so wasn't there like shady clothing or something at some point?
Yes, so at a certain point, yes, I did end up working for, and this is before I did radio.
But you already had a relationship with Paul.
Yeah, so I met Paul when I was interning at Wu-Tang Management.
Okay.
I met Paul Rosenberg then, M's manager, and I actually booked Eminem to go do this thing called Park Hill Day, which was in Staten Island in Park Hill, obviously. And he came out and performed, because he used to do the Lyricist Lounge battles all the time. So I knew him from that, but he wasn't like super well known yet.
Not at all.
Right, but so I had him come out to that, and I remember afterward, they were like, that kid is amazing, and so he came to Staten Island, opened up, performed, and I know he really wanted to get down with Wu-Tang like after that, because I remember Paul having that demo and people not really, taking it as seriously as they could have. And so I met him back then. I think Paul is really great at always taking care of you if he feels like early on when people weren't really messing with them like that.
Yep.
If he feels like you were respectful, because people are.
They were shitting on him. They were shitting on him.
And
sure. Especially when they found out he was white.
You know what? At a certain point, my brother and Paul were supposed to be roommates too. When Paul was first, moving here, but then he ended up moving to, I think, Jersey City, if I'm not mistaken. But I actually just saw Paul the other day, so a couple of times. Yeah, I still talk to Paul. That's my guy. And so what happened was I used to give Paul clothes for Eminem.
Okay.
And so I remember Eminem wore the varsity clothing on the cover of a magazine, and they were so excited that he wore the clothes. And so we always had just a good relationship. And my friend Tracy worked for him too. And Tracy and I were friends, aside from that. She actually went to go work for him after her and I were friends. So it was kind of like Paul was there, Tracy was there, Mark LaBelle, everybody was my people. And
was Riggs there already?
Not yet. Riggs came a little later.
Okay.
And so when they started the clothing line, I was at the Chappelle Show premiere, and I was there. Jizza was on the first episode of the Chappelle Show. So I was at the screening. Paul was sitting, I can't remember if he was right behind me or right in front of me, but he was like, hey, I want you to come work for this clothing line we're doing. And I was like, okay. And the next day, that was it, hired.
Damn. See,
Yeah,
you
no
always in the right place, right time. You never had a resume then, right?
I can't remember the last time I've had one.
Did you ever apply for a job besides the temp job?
I don't think I have. I never had a resume.
That's crazy.
Not since back then.
See,
I don't know what I would do. AI, I guess, could write it for me.
I mean, you're a writer. What you mean? You should be able to spit that right out.
Nobody wants to write a resume.
I mean,
that doesn't feel very creative.
Yeah.
Unless I was making things up.
Have you ever thought you weren't in the right place or doing the right thing and been like, yo, I wish I would have did this instead?
I mean, I always am like, I wonder if I wouldn't have left that Wu-Tang job to go work for Chiba Sounds. That might have been nice because Wu-Tang was, maybe sometimes I think people also do get stuck in situations and get really comfortable being somewhere. So maybe I would have never been freelancing the way that I was, if it wasn't that series of events. So I don't feel like there's too many things I've done that haven't been the right move, because I feel like I'm in a great space. And if I had taken a left turn, it's like the movie Sliding Doors.
But you did take a left turn. You went to Chiba Sounds. That seems like a little bit of a left because the way it ended up.
I think that's what led me to freelancing in a way. If I wouldn't have, because I could have stayed where I was and been there for, and maybe I would have been like kind of stuck in the idea of being someplace. And so I think it's important also to, it is important to do things. It's never necessarily a mistake. It's just a different path that you take. A mistake is like I feel like a mistake is more like purposely doing something stupid. Everything is a risk. I could have stayed. It could have been awful. Who knows? Something bad could have happened. You just never know what could happen. So.
Have you ever had to take a step back, like as far as like pay or anything like that to get further?
Yeah, when I started doing radio, I definitely had to humble myself because it was a new experience for me. So when I went to go work at Sirius, I was actually unemployed right before that for the first time.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Oh, so you didn't make that jump right from, I thought that was a jump from Shady with Paul and them to Sirius because Paul and them were there. Because you went to Shady, right?
Yeah, I was at Shady, but then they actually laid me off.
I'm sorry, Shade 4-5, my bad.
I was at Shady Limited.
Yep.
And then
they laid you off.
Yeah, they laid me off.
Paul laid you off?
Well, it wasn't Paul. It was the distribution label, Nessie Apparel was the name of it. So they had other clothing lines that they did, and that was just one of them. But they couldn't really see eye to eye on the direction of the clothing line because the way that Eminem and Paul, they envisioned it was more classy. Like they wanted it to be in Bloomingdale's, let's say, where the way Nessie Apparel saw it, like, let's get this in TJ Maxx and Marshalls and let's mass produce it and let's put a big picture of Eminem on it. And, they wanted that.
Yep.
And so I think it was a lot of bumping heads because you will make more money if you do something that's mass produced, that's in, Walmart that people could buy than you would in Bloomingdale's. You know what I'm saying? And so it just wasn't going well. And I was Paul's guy to them, So the way they looked at it, I was his guy. So they kind of looked at me as the enemy in a way, I think, for the person being in-house. And so, I definitely got laid off. And after that, I said, you know what? I'm going to take a step back. And I've been working my whole life, like never taking a break, doing a million things. Let me take a moment to figure out what I want to do. Because a lot of things I did because they were offered to me. Yep. And so I wanted to figure out what I wanted my next move to be. Instead of me taking something that was kind of handed to me, I wanted to intentionally say, this is what I want to do.
Dope. And so what was that?
So there was a little bit of, so I also was like, I'm paying money to get unemployment and I've never had unemployment in my life. So I was just living off of unemployment for a few months and I enjoyed it. I was going to the gym every day. I was chilling. I was good. So after that, I actually hit up Paul and Tracy and I was like, listen, you guys, they were launching Shade 45. Cypher Sounds was on the morning show. I wanted to do marketing at Sirius. And so I said, look, put in a good word for me. I said, you don't have to get me the job, get me the interview, but I have experience in marketing. I would love to come while you guys are there and just do marketing. And Paul was like, well, we are looking for somebody on the morning show. If you want to audition, if you feel like you want to talk like on the radio, if you think you could do that. And I was like, oh, all right, why not? And wow. it was an audition. I had to go and meet with programming and they were like, oh, do you have experience in radio? I was like, nope. But they kind of liked that because I think what they were saying was before I came in, there were people that they were trying, but they were too like stuck in what they're used to doing in radio and their own method. And they liked the fact that I was just something that was moldable into making it like, Sirius was different. It wasn't like at that time, especially Shade 45 was like freestyle. Do whatever you want. Yep. You don't have to play the music. It was a free for all. And so I actually had to work for months without getting paid. And it was kind of like them still testing me out until.
Were you still getting unemployment then? You were still chilling?
I don't think you're supposed to, but I was. It's okay now.
It's like, okay now. We'll be on. We got a few years. That's all good. So was this serious programming or was this Shade 45? Was this Reef?
So it was Shade 45 that was part of Sirius, but yes, Reef was there.
Okay.
Reef was there at the time. And I honestly, like, what got them to say she's hired was the Jay-Z interview that we had. When I walked out of that, the interview was like amazing. Jay-Z had just become president of Def Jam.
Okay.
He had Memphis Bleak with him and Young Chris. And after that interview, it was so good. Like Cypher Sounds at one point was like, go ahead, Angela, just go, do it, like in the interview, because it was funny.
Okay.
And
wait, so how did they end up getting him on the morning show of Shade 45 or brand new? Because Eminem hit him or something? Like,
no, he was doing the rounds because he just had become president.
Yeah, but wasn't that a new station at the time? Like, it wasn't like...
This was a few months in, because remember, I also like worked there for like a few months. I remember it was Chinese New Year too, so it had to be like in February sometime, either the end of January, beginning of February. And so I had started working there in November around Thanksgiving, so that's why I remember the timeline. So it was probably like 3 months in.
Okay.
And so we had been going a little bit. I remember early on, we interviewed Ludacris and Chingy was down the hall, and I think they were beefing at that time. And Sirius doesn't know those things. Yep. So they're like, we told Ludacris, Chingy's down the hall. He was like, what? It was just funny. Because, you never know who's in the building because there's so many different stations. But I think he might have been the first interview I had when I was up there. And I didn't know anything about interviewing people when I first started at Sirius. I was so unpolished, but I think that was part of what they liked.
I mean, shit, what was Cypher doing? Like, Cypher's not he's the DJ.
But Cypher was also at Hot 97.
Yeah.
And so the thing about him was that he was very clear always that he really wanted mornings at Hot 97. Mm-hmm. So we all knew if that got offered to him, he was out.
Yep.
So he was always just kind of there. But you know what that helped me with? And I love Cypher to this day. I introduced him to his wife. But I will say that there would be times that Cypher would not even show up to work at all.
Yeah.
Like we would be calling him and he would, and I know his ass was just ignoring it. And then he would like answer the phone at noon and be like, oh, my bad, I overslept. And so I would be there. He really did not care. Like I would be there doing the show.
That doesn't sound like him at all.
But it did help me get good at radio because there were times that I kind of had to do it on my own. And then I ended up getting my own show, Lip Service, and that's how Lip Service started. With Leah Rose, we were doing Lip Service once a week at night.
And so what was Lip Service for you? Was that like your opportunity? Because you created that show, right? Mm-hmm. Right, so that was your like saying like, because I feel like that's the first time it was like female.
Yeah, that was the whole point. Because when I was doing Mornings with Cypher, I had this segment every week. It was called Slut It Out. Okay. We even did a mixtape and everything. But it was just basically showing how women talk and how we like can. Because I think at that time, like you said, it was a lot of guys on the radio. It was all like these spaces and King Magazine and Smooth Magazine and Black Men's Magazine. And so for me, I wanted something where as women, we could be like, get down and dirty, talk about the things that we talk about with each other, educate the guys on things we like and things we don't like, and just be like human and have fun with it. Yep. And so it was kind of like, we had Howard Stern down the hall and we didn't have a woman version of that. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted it to be a space for women to be like, she's not just a video vixen, but she's also funny and she's got this personality and here's what she did and she's got a kid and here's how she feels about that. And so it was, kind of how it started. And even before celebrities were on there, I started it with women who had regular jobs. Like I had a receptionist on, I had a lawyer on, and we all had fake names and there was no video during this time. So it was just them basically talking about their experiences, in the bedroom and intimate things and fun things like that.
Why do you think it was important to give women that space?
Because I wish I would have had it. And so I just remember being on that show and, even being at Sirius and being at Shade 45, there was not a lot of women on Shade 45. Yeah. And even after Cypher left, I remember how hesitant they were for me to do the show because they were like, ooh, are people going to want to listen to a woman? It was a lot of truck drivers. But once I had Lip Service was established, the show was so popular that it was like, okay, she's got it. And they really didn't want me to leave because I had the offer to go to Hot 97 with Cypher. And they did want me to stay. And so I was able to negotiate more money, for myself.
Pay me, I'll stay.
Yeah, that's what happened.
Dope. So how long did you stay there before you went to Power 105?
I was at Sirius for 6 years.
Oh, so it was a minute.
Yeah, 6 years. I had the morning after with Angela Yee. That was the name of my show, which was cute. That's a cute name.
What was your favorite interview from those days?
Ooh, it's probably something that's not even like, I have all this footage too of interviews that's not shot very well, but I got it.
From that time?
Yeah.
Okay.
I had Nipsey Hussle on back then. I had, I remember I had an interview with JB Smoove that I really liked, of him talking about getting the role in Curb Your Enthusiasm. At the time, it was just so many people. I had Snoop on. I remember Daz and Corrupt came one day and they were so excited to do lip service. People were really like flying a day early or stay a day late just so they could do lip service, because they told me they used to listen in the car and eat tacos from like the taco spot and wait for it to come on. I remember Floyd Mayweather used to call in. I remember Wale calling in back then, just while because we were live, so we were live, so we couldn't. And that was the great thing about Sirius, I think, was taking calls live. You don't know what anybody's going to say. And so, just so many things. I remember being on tour during that time with Eminem and 50 Cent, and being in a casino in Vegas and being with Proof in the casino, and Suge Knight coming in.
Oof.
Yeah. I mean, we had some times.
Yeah. I mean, I think, especially from guys' perspective, like getting to hear women like speak openly like that, we never get that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And especially in hip hop, it's so male dominated.
It's a lot of judgment that people pass when women say things. Like, I feel like men can do whatever, but when women say certain things, it's like, oh my gosh, she's it. And so I think that was something that, I've had to deal with also, with people being like, I can't believe she's saying this is disgusting. Oh, she's not. And people will say like, oh, that's all she talks about is sex. But I'm like, I talk about so many things. It's probably the smallest part of what we talk about, but it's what people comment on the most.
But that's the judgment, right? And that's the tough thing about being a woman in this world in general, right? Y'all can't be yourselves. Y'all have to be yourselves behind closed doors. So I think you've kind of opened that up for a lot of people, especially in hip hop.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Just to give that kind of space. So definitely want to applaud you on that. Because it's big. That takes a lot of heart.
I mean, we had some classic moments. We had Nicki Minaj on there super early on, talking about all her different personalities in the bedroom. And we would have so much fun, like just, being able to have those types of conversations. And what was great about it was people weren't talking about that really anywhere else like that.
At all.
I remember we had True Life on. And, and the thing is that like certain guys would be known for being like, but he was on it like, oh, you got me as an R&B, True Life, like blushing and everything. We had Max B on and he was toe up, but that was a classic interview too. It was, it was fun.
Were there any interviews you were just like, you were kind of like, not embarrassed, but like this went too far?
I think people came on there to go too far. But we're also really good at pulling it back. Like if we have a certain guest on and we know, they're not going to do certain things or whatever. And if there's anything they tell us ahead of time, we respect that. I would never have somebody come on that is like, oh, I can't do this, and then spring it on them. Yep. Because it's never about like, I got you. That's never been that for me. I want people to still feel safe but have fun. And we'll push it, and if they're like, oh, I can't, then we'll take it back. If you're like, oh, I don't want that in the interview, we'll take it out. I respect that. It's never about me.
But you couldn't really do that on the live segments.
Not on the live ones, we couldn't.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Not on the live ones. I'm talking about now.
Now you were.
But when it was live, I mean, there was nothing nothing we could do about it.
That's what I'm saying. Was there any time where it was just like, oh shit, we gotta like?
I mean, we did have, when Murs was on. If you look up that episode, he was on with a couple of porn stars, Candace Vaughn and Roxy Reynolds, and that went really far. Yeah.
Like physically far?
Yes, but he ended up dating one of them after that.
Oh, so he was a matchmaker then.
And having her in his video and everything.
Oh, so he was a matchmaker.
But some people would say it was too far.
You created a relationship. What do you mean?
A lot of relationships or situationships got created on that show. I will say that.
All right, so how do you make the jump to Power after that and become the Breakfast?
So Club? I was doing everything that I was doing, and I wasn't thinking about impact. I was just doing my job. That's, so it was always interesting to me because Sirius was, I feel like at that time you can't see the impact because it's so spread out. It's not like I was doing New York radio or doing Philly radio. It was like, or Atlanta. It was like this, it's just all nationwide. So sometimes you don't get to see the impact. But then program directors started hitting me up from other stations like, hey, we want to talk to you about coming here. And people really tried to recruit me to come, to Philly, to Atlanta, which was really, really nice because I couldn't believe that this was happening for me. And so when I got the offer to come to Power 105, because that's what it was first, local New York radio, before we got syndicated, I had been talking to G-Spin. He wanted me to do more like fill-in slots. He wanted to kind of get me adjusted to being on New York radio. Because the other thing, they were like, how does she go from being on Sirius, unfiltered radio to coming to commercial FM radio? Can she make that transition? And so he wanted to get me situated, but Sirius shut it down. They were like, no way.
So you were trying to do both?
Yes, because everybody was.
Yep.
Like everybody that it was at Sirius had a job on another radio station. I was like one of the only ones who didn't. And so I was like, all right, well, that shouldn't be a problem. So I was training on the board. And when it was time for me when I told them at Sirius, I was like, hey, I'm going to be doing like some weekend shifts. They were like, no, you're not allowed to do that. And I was like, well, everyone else here does it. They was like, they were grandfathered in. And so I told G-Spin, I said, look, I don't want to risk losing my job for like a weekend slot, but if there's an opening, I want you to know that I would definitely consider leaving here to come somewhere else. So don't count me out. And so, he did always keep that in mind. And I remember I was having a meeting with Radio 1, and they wanted me to come to Philly and do the morning show there. They wanted me to take over the morning show. They were like, you could do whatever you want. If you want to stay in New York, we'll send car service for you to come. Like, they really wanted me to come there. And so I was walking away from the meeting to my car, and then they called me from Power 105. I'm like, dang, how did they know? And they were like, we want you here. Can you meet tomorrow? And so I had to turn down a job in Philly because I was considering it. I was literally looking at apartments online, like, where would I want to live? Because I told them, I said, if I'm going to do radio here, I'll move here. Like, I would never want to be somewhere on the morning show and not live in that place. So I was like, okay, I'm going to get it in the high rise. I'm going to be downtown. Like, I was just trying to figure out where am I going to live. And, when they called me, I was like, in radio, it took a long time from when they called me at Power to when they hired me. And so I ended up telling them in Philly I couldn't take the job because I was waiting for something else. I couldn't say what. And it was a risk because, it might not have come through, and then I would have just turned something down. And actually, that's when they hired Star to go on the radio out there after
in Philly?
In Philly, after I didn't take it. It was the same guy, the lawyer that was working on my contract. I guess he worked with him too. So he put,
Make sure he got that commission.
Yeah, he put him there. And so, but after that, I just waited, and then radio moves fast because there's somebody on the air already. So you're taking somebody's spot. And so they don't want to give you advance notice because then word gets out, this person tells that person, and then next thing you know, they're like, wait, hold on, you got a new, crew coming in. So they sent me the contract and wanted me to sign it and send it right back that day when it was time to go because they wanted us to, they were going to get rid of the morning show that they had and bring us in, which is never easy. And so they sent it, and I was like, I'm not signing a contract just like that. I need my lawyer to look at it. What if I want to negotiate certain things? And they literally waited because it was the same day I had lip service later that night. So I took the contract, I went home, I was, looking through it. I sent it to my lawyer. We didn't have a lot of time. They waited in the office, I heard, until nighttime when I sent it back over because I had to go back to do lip service. And when I went back to do it, that's when I sent the contract over. And they waited until nighttime for me to send it back because the next day they let their morning show go.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it happens like that.
And then you guys were in, the next Monday?
No,
they probably
so
did it on a Friday? And
what they do is they just have music for a period of time because they don't want to just the next day put somebody new on. So what they'll do is they'll just play music and, let that kind of phase out a little bit and then bring you in. So there was a period of time of them like testing us. We didn't have a name for the show yet. So we even had meetings. We were doing like fake mock shows. And during that time, I was still working at Sirius. So I gave my notice at Sirius. And, you give your 2 weeks notice. I was like, they'll probably just kick me out right away. But they still wanted me to work that 2 weeks. And so I was doing both for like that period of time. I was going there and then coming and doing the fake shows and then just working like nonstop.
Who came up with the name?
It was, I think, in a meeting. I don't remember if it was any one person. I don't honestly, out of all of us, I don't remember who it was. It was some terrible names being thrown out though. I remember, yeah.
Like what?
Some like Illuminati type name. I was like, no. I remember the Big Three was big then. They wanted to call it like the Big Three, but I was like, that feels like a fleeting moment,
Yeah. I mean, the Breakfast Club, and that I thought would have been taken. You know what I'm saying? Like, that sounds like such an easy name.
Yeah. I mean, and I think a name like that, people probably could use it still. I don't know how that works.
Could you trademark? I mean,
I don't know if you could really, you know what I mean? Maybe for a morning show, I don't know.
Specific, right?
Yeah.
All right. So how was that getting into that transition from unfiltered, like you were saying, to now being commercial radio?
It's interesting because it is so different. And when I first started, I remember at Sirius, our boss there was telling me, he was like, you're going to hate it. All morning shows fail. He was like, it's not going to work. And you're not going to get to talk because it's mostly commercials and music. And, it felt like people, and then it was also different that it wasn't someone's name on the show. And I think morning radio is normally like the Steve Harvey show, the Ricky Smiley show.
Big Boys Neighborhood.
So it never was necessarily a show that was like a collective. And so people were like, there's no way that can work. That's too and now everyone's doing it, which is really funny.
I mean, but y'all broke the mold in a lot of ways. Like, I don't remember other shows being syndicated like y'all's were. I mean, other markets.
Other shows.
Other shows like were, but I mean, Big Boy was, right? I think
other shows were syndicated, like Tom Joyner and stuff.
No, but I'm talking about like from our culture, from not like all those shows, 1000%. But I'm talking about like
in the way that we were. I guess I would say Ricky Smiley was.
Okay.
I don't know. And I'm gonna be honest. Like, I don't come from radio.
Yep.
So a lot of times, like, people that work in this will know a lot more about the history of everything that I do. Because and Sirius, working there for 6 years. It wasn't like, I didn't even have connections with anybody because it's so separate. It's not like we're not doing events with, FM radio. It was just, for me, it was me just kind of going with the flow in a way.
I mean, it sounds like most of your life has just been flowing, What are some epic moments from that time, like good and bad? Like, what were some of like the tough things that you've learned from that situation and what did you walk away with?
It's interesting because me coming from having my own show, it was a lot of having to I would make a lot of decisions when I had my own show. So now you're in a situation where it's not really up to you.
Yeah.
So if you agree with something or don't agree with it, or you want to do something but no one else wants to do it, it's a lot of you having to compromise. And it's also a lot of, we all are very different. And so while one person might believe something and I don't, if that belief is something that is more like, oh my God, I can't, it gets put on all of you. So I think as a collective, if one person does something, there's times that like people would be like, oh, she's on the Breakfast Club. We can't have her do this. They're X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, I didn't do anything, And so it's hard when you have to take responsibility for things and it's not on you. And I'm sure if I do something, nobody wants to take responsibility for that either. And so it's kind of it's a collective and you're responsible for the collective. It's like having a business with business partners. If your business partner does something, it reflects on you too, no matter what it is. And so you celebrate the wins, but then you also take responsibility when it's not a win.
Yeah. And so, I mean, that went quick, like that time. It was a lot, right? And then when did you make the transition to going on your own again?
So I worked on that show for 12 years.
Damn.
I know.
That seems like it was so fast, though.
Yeah, 12.
I'm sure not for you because you was waking up at like 3, 4 in the morning probably to get there.
Oh my God, I hated getting up early. I'm so, it is such a blessing to not have to do that anymore. I was like, that was one of the hardest parts of doing that show was like, God forbid I had a dinner at 8 o'clock and then I got home at midnight and now I'm sleeping for 4 hours. and you end up doing that back to back to back. I remember having to go to Miami when we were syndicated in Miami, and they wanted us to do Live on Sunday. We flew in, did a photo shoot, did Live on Sunday, and then straight to work. Like, I fell asleep during the broadcast because you want me to turn up and then you want me to get on the radio. I was like, I can't do that.
Yeah, that's a lot. How was that mentally though? Was it tough? Was it challenging as far as the mental?
Yeah, it definitely was. And you're always like, I think, a little irritable too. At that time in the morning, it's never fun. Mm-hmm. And so it was definitely challenging. And I was for sure like, for a while, because I had been talking to iHeart about getting my own show, because I came from having my own show. Yeah. I started my podcast again, after a while, because I was like, I need this, like I need my thing. And I think it's important for anybody that is working somewhere to always have your own branding. So, because you never know what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. So you want to make sure that you step away from something and that you've elevated yourself and your brand to the point where you can take that and take it somewhere else. Yeah. And so I always wanted to make sure that I had my own brand outside of that and made my own money outside of that and had other streams of income outside of that and grew in other ways too, as far as entrepreneurship, as far as financial empowerment, things that were important to me. Mm-hmm. I tried to always make sure that I was on that path.
Yeah, I mean, you got multiple streams of income, because like you said, entrepreneurship now, investor.
Yeah, multiple streams of income and multiple streams of debt.
It's a balance, it's a balance, right?
Yeah, it is.
But that debt becomes part of the risk you're probably taking in order to get bigger and better things, right? It's not like you're just spending money and going into debt, I don't think.
No. I wouldn't say that. I think the way that I have things set up now is that, I take a risk here, but I know I have this right here that can cover that. So if something goes left, they always say when it comes to a risk, never risk what you can't lose. Yep. And so I always try to make sure that when I do that, I feel like the way that we're programmed is to I'm always like fearful of, I'm so scared we could lose anything at any moment. Mm-hmm. So I try to make sure that I really lessen the risk of something like that happening by having all these different things going on, like by having my retirement money, by having a nest egg in case something goes wrong, by having properties that if I need to sell this, I can, by having rental income so that, I always set it up so I'm not also living beyond my means. Yep. And I think that's important too. And I learned, really, there were times that I was very like extravagant with my spending. Mm-hmm. And I think the pandemic really showed me how unimportant material things are. And also investing in real estate also has shown me that, because there's nothing more exciting than when you can come home and like love your house, or when you're getting those checks from your rentals, or when you're like, okay, we got this project coming and we're actually going to be helping people in the community. Yep. Or when I could team up with other people and help them do things that they maybe never thought was possible.
Yeah. What are some of your favorite investments so far? Because I know you got a few real estate projects you've been pretty proud of.
Yeah, I mean, we literally just finished the building in Detroit, so people start moving in April 18th.
Oh, congrats. Dope.
Thank you. And that has been like one of the hardest projects I've ever had to do. Like, there were many times that I was like, I just don't think it's going to work. We're going to have to sell this and cut our losses. Even from the beginning of getting it, that finance, that was really, really tough for us. But now that I've been through it, it actually allows me to, if I want to do something, it's a 30-unit building, I had never done anything to that magnitude, so banks are going to be hesitant because I don't have a track record. Yep. And so now I have a track record. And so now that this is done, we're renting it out. It's in a great location. I feel good that, okay, I can stop coming out of my pocket every month, because, there's taxes, there's maintenance, somebody broke a window, now we got to pay for that. Oh, we just found out there's no rods in the closets, so we have to get somebody to come in and put like rods up in all the closets before everybody moves in. Just little things that you may not have thought of. We got to make sure there's a security system. Oh, so we forgot to pay the electric bill in this one. The electric's turned off in this unit. It's just so many things that always has to be handled, that always is like coming out of your pocket to take care of it. And so I'm just going to be glad when that can like sustain itself, because it's great, and we do have a portion of it as affordable housing. Yep. So that's great too. And so I'm happy about that. And people are like, make the whole building affordable, but we also want to be able to afford to pay the mortgage and the taxes. And I know that's really tough, for a lot of people that look at it on both sides.
That's dope. So it sounds like you're betting on yourself a lot now.
Yeah, I am, and what's also like, I hate owing money. So I hate having like mortgages, but I know that's considered good debt.
Yep.
But that's also a tough thing. And so the economy is like so up and down. By the time we get out of this bridge loan we're still looking to get a permanent mortgage. The best time to get one is when the building is pretty much all leased out, almost all leased out. So we're waiting for that to happen. So now I'm extending this bridge loan 6 months, which is expensive. All of these things cost us money, but it's the price that you have to pay if you want to get something done. Like, I love real estate, but it's not easy at all. And it does require you to have like a buffer for when things don't go right.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a money pit too. I
mean, it absolutely can.
And you got to be careful of that, because like you said, then that could become bad debt.
Yeah.
No,
you're right.
You default on the loans, you do all that, and that looks really bad. And then in this economy now, it's like, who knows? Especially now we got tariffs.
I know, and it's a scary time for people, but I do feel comfortable in like, okay, I have these other properties, and some of them are all paid off. Yeah. So I was able to like even borrow get a home equity line of credit. So I was able to borrow money against the value of one of my homes to be able to do things. And so, that, and even that for me is scary, but I know like a lot of people who do investments, they don't use their own money to do that.
Yep.
And so I have to get into that mind frame too, because it's so scary to me when bills are due every month. But then like I have an Airbnb upstate New York, and that pretty much pays for itself. And so, for me, if I can have things that are paying for itself, even if it's, the interest feels like it's crazy, then that's a win-win. And then the value of it is increasing at the same time, and I'm not putting any more money other than what I put down.
Yep, no, that's dope. Let's talk about like, so you got so many things going on, you always have. How do you take care of yourself mentally? You have like certain regimens, certain things you do?
Well, I used to be big on running, and I'm about to get back into it. So I'm about to restart like my running club. I just got a new treadmill. Okay. So I haven't touched it yet, but I got it last week. And so what I want to do is, because I've been traveling so much and doing everything. So now I'm coming off this detox. So I also am partners in a detox program called the Detox Now. And so I'm coming off of this detox, and I had some of my friends do it with me, which was nice. Because having those conversations, like Keys, who does my makeup, she's like, oh, Angela, I haven't had any juice this whole time, and now I think I'm gonna cut back on that. Because the whole point of a detox is you don't go back and do the same things that you were doing before. You gotta change, certain habits, and that can hopefully jumpstart that for you. And so I think being healthier, and also I have this brownstone that I live in that is like my, forever home. That's how I look at it. So I just finished doing like my outdoor space. So what I'm really hoping is that I'll be able to actually be home more and utilize that space and like be outside and just enjoy my house. Yeah.
So running is your thing. That's what gets you.
Yeah, it was. I got to get back into it. I'm ready though.
We've been doing some run clubs out of here, so maybe you can
I'm determined. I'm determined.
Do you ever run with Nori?
I did before.
Oh, you did?
I decided, me and Nori were on the same team in this competition, and we actually won. He'll tell you about it. And every single day, Nori was hitting me up like, did you run yet, sis? I'm like, I'm at work on the air. Like, I can't run. I know you know what I'm saying? He'll be getting up, running outside, but I was on the air in the morning. I couldn't do it. Julia Beverly was on the other team, and we won the last minute. Like, one person uploaded their miles, because they were beating us, and then one person uploaded them. I can't remember who it was, and we ended up winning, and so that was cool. Okay. I'm a very competitive person.
Okay. I mean, I haven't got into running. That's not my thing, but I do a lot of other challenges, so. I don't know what it is, man. Like, a lot of my friends run. Like, they run marathons, like crazy. Like, Dowie, Draper Ball, like a bunch of people run marathons, crazy. I'm just like, I don't see it. They look at them, they're like machines.
What's your challenges that you do?
I do 75 hard.
Okay.
Like, it's more of a discipline challenge, but it's like 2 45-minute workouts a day. One of them has to be outside.
Oh, that's what I remember you telling me.
Yeah, you got to drink a gallon of water. You got to read 10 pages of a book. Like, so I did like this whole year. I'm on right now, when the show airs, will be done, but I'm on day 27 of the last 30.
Sheesh.
Yeah, but there's other stuff. I got to talk to a stranger. I can do a random act of kindness.
Okay, I'm sure you do that all the time. I love random acts of kindness.
Yeah, well, but you gotta, so part of it though too is like, I could just sit in here and talk to strangers all day, right? When people come in here, but that makes it too easy.
Right, so you got to go out of your way.
And then, so today I actually stopped to talk to one of those people in the subway. And it was like Easter seals. And so I ended up doing a donation to that and knocked out talking to a stranger and a random act of kindness in the same thing. But I was like, yeah, it's so easy though. Like, you can just walk outside. Like I was talking to somebody and their dog in the park the other day. But then there was one night it got late and I was in my neighborhood and I was trying to do it. So I was trying to talk to people on my block. It was like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
Like, no.
Yeah, because it is weird when people just start talking to you. This is New York.
Right.
You could get away with that somewhere else, but
I was like, I'm doing a challenge. Can you help me out? No, thank you. Yeah, so I literally had to go to a bar. I don't drink. So that became the conversation. Like, as I went to a bar, talked to the bartender, ordered a drink. What can I have to drink that's non-alcoholic? Stuff like that.
Mocktails are a thing right now, though.
Yeah. It was whack though, because he gave me a mocktail out of a can. I was like, you don't even make it? Yeah. I was like, y'all don't even make it? You gave me some like ginger beer out of a can? I was like, come on, man. I could have just gone to the bodega and got that. But it's been fun because it's like, you may not know, I am shy. Like, I'm
really?
not, I'm not like, because I've always been like judgmental about myself in some weird way. A lot of what I do helps me get past that. But yeah, most people wouldn't think I'm shy.
Yeah, because I've always looked at you as a very social person.
Very social.
But I've known you forever, so.
But also, we're in social places where we know everybody in a sense, right?
Right.
And if we don't, we're being introduced to the people we don't know.
Yeah, you're
So
right.
it's a little bit different, right? It's not like walking outside and just talking to some random person, especially somebody you wouldn't normally talk to. And that's what I was trying to challenge myself to do.
I feel like random people are always talking to me.
Well, because they know you?
Both. But even when I was younger, I think I just have that, like, people want to come up to me and just start, like, randomly, I don't know. People always ask me for directions. Like, I look like I know where I'm going.
Speaking of that, have you ever had any weird interactions with, like, fans or, like, because of your stardom?
I think, all the time. Some not so great and some great. It just depends. Like, I definitely had a situation. I've had, like, a couple of situations that were like serious stalker situations where the police had to get involved. Even.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so that's never fun. Because I think like the last thing we ever want to do is tell the police anything.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, it's like if something happens, you have to be overly cautious. So, I mean, so those have been not great. But I think 98% of my interactions have been pretty positive.
Okay, dope.
And I appreciate that. Like, people are so nice to me. It's like, it's always still weird to me that people are excited. One day I was when Santi lived in Brooklyn, we came outside and this woman was like, "Hey, Angela." And she was like, "How you know my neighbor?" And I was like, "Santi, people know who I am. I don't know your neighbor." Like, because, my friends will not realize because they know me so long. Yeah. She didn't think anything of it. Yeah. And she was like, "Oh my God." And I was like, "No, I don't know her." But
I was on syndicated radio.
She was like, "Oh, I forgot."
Yeah, because you're just a homie. What's something your younger self wouldn't believe you've done or wouldn't have expected you've done?
Oh, definitely buy a house, because you could have never told me I'll buy several of them.
And now a 30-unit spot in Detroit. Is it in Detroit or is it just in Michigan?
Detroit, in Midtown, you could have never told me I'll be doing things like this. Even just being on the radio, like, it's so still surreal to me. So that's something you could have never told me, that I would be like in the radio, especially on the radio, especially in New York. I remember when we first had the billboards, how exciting it was. And then owning a home, like over Thanksgiving, I had my whole family over and I had everything catered, didn't cook, had everything catered. And it was just nice that like my whole family was there. They didn't have to do anything.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of people. It was like 40 people.
Nice.
But I would never have thought I'd be able to do something like that. Even simple things like I bought my dad a car. That was a big deal for me, for him to be able to just come and test drive a car and take it.
Dope. I love that. Well, do you cook?
Yeah, some way.
What's the last thing you cooked?
Actually, I made chicken burgers yesterday, but I was not impressed. I usually will do a turkey burger. Okay. But chicken burgers have way less flavor. Yeah. And I was like, I wouldn't do that again.
Chicken doesn't have a lot of flavor.
Yeah, so I was like, let me try this Bell & Evans, chicken, because I want to be, and it was, So So I was like, we'll just stick to the turkey burgers.
Now, if you ever do that again, you got to actually season the whole. You got to like break the patties up or just get the ground meat. Yeah, because otherwise.
Because I never normally do that, but I just on a whim was like, oh, I'll do it this way. Yeah. And did not.
Like people have been asking us to cook turkey burgers, like do turkey smash burgers, and I'm like, yeah, nah, I don't think.
But my turkey burgers are amazing. It was just the chicken.
So what's the difference?
The chicken was not chickening. Like it was a lot less flavor than a turkey. The turkey burgers are great, but this just did not taste like that. I think I needed to do a lot more than I would for a turkey burger, if that makes sense.
Okay.
But yes.
Sounds
like I can't cook.
What's been the most difficult thing for you as a woman in hip hop and radio and just being a personality?
I think that it is hard sometimes to voice how you feel about certain things because people are not empathetic to it. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like a lot of times as a woman, you end up just being like, let me just shut up because no one cares. Mm. And so that's always hard because you feel like I want to do this, but then people look at you as like a complaining, whiny woman when you're really just telling the truth. And that's why I understand why so many women have difficulty speaking up when something's happening, because no one, honestly, you feel like no one cares. Like nobody gives a shit. And I think it's just hard because they're also, we just had on Daryl Fairweather. She's a chief economist at Redfin. She has a book out right now. And, you know, it's called Hate the Game. And she was just talking in the book as an economist. She looks at things like from the social perspective as how it relates to the economy. Mm-hmm. And she was talking about being in college and how like women are still looked at as not as smart, even though women may be graduating at a higher rate. We still don't make as much money as men do in the workplace. And just the way that we're viewed is like we're emotional, you know, we can't handle certain things, we're complaining, we're whiny, we're this, we're that. And a lot of times we're not taken seriously in positions of power. So I think that's just really tough because it's not me just saying this, it's like statistically a fact that this is how we are viewed in the workplace. And you know, I just think that sometimes when you complain about stuff and nothing gets done, you just have to let it, you end up like, what can you do? You know, so.
I mean, y'all are the minority, right? Even though like statistically, when you start looking at the other side, it's more successful in a lot of ways and potentially could be in better positions if allowed to.
Right.
And it's always like that uphill battle. But that's why I commend you, because you've done it, again, in a spot where not many women have just accelerated and done it and kept doing it. And also it's like, you don't have a lot of dirt on your name.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
People will make some up though.
Yeah, but there's never been anything that I know of at least where it's like, oh, this huge scandal and you know what I mean? Like where your career has been tarnished or something.
You know, I'm just not a bad person. And I know that. And I feel like people who know me, and that's why like certain things I can deal with. You know, people will say like random things, people who I don't know, but people who know me are like, okay, I don't ever like tout the things that I've done or I helped this person, I did this. Like I've never been that type of person. But the people who know me well love me, like, and I care about that more than anything. Because if you try to please everybody or prove what you did for this person, or you know, sometimes you get disappointed too, because being a generous, you know, kind person, it can bite you too. But I think that the main thing is that you never want to change who you are at your core. And so anytime you start feeling like, ooh, this person has me acting out of character, it's not the right space to be in.
Yeah, but you've always kept it you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's been good. I think you've always been able to speak your mind as well. Like, I don't think you hold your tongue back that much.
I do. You know, I ain't stupid now.
Yeah, nah, but I mean, but again,
there's so many things.
But there's a difference than being smart or standing up for yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And making sure you're heard, you're seen in the room. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think any place you've been overshadowed to a point where it's like they forget about you.
Yeah, I think the main thing, and I will always tell people this, is if you're complaining about something every single day, you gotta change. Like, nothing's gonna change for you, you gotta change. You gotta make a change. If every day you go to work and you're like, I hate my job, or you go home and you're like, I hate my man, you gotta leave. You gotta do something else, because nobody wants to hear you complain all the time. There's people that complain to me about their situation, you know, on a daily basis. I'm like, look, if you're not gonna do something about it, stop talking about it. Or, you know, make a move. Like, you got to.
Yep. And plus, it's just to fuck with your mental health. Like, you're not gonna feel good. You're gonna look at yourself in a different way. You're gonna compromise your integrity, your ethos, and all kinds of stuff.
Some people like to complain too, though.
Well, because that's what they want attention.
Some people are like never happy or like
I think
forever a victim.
Do you think the internet's what created that? I feel like the internet created that. Like, because like the ability, how many people you get on the spot and they just always talk shit? And it's just like, bro,
yes, it's awful.
It's like, that's all you want, because that gets attention though.
I would hate to be a person that was online, like always mad. I would never want that. I think that used to, I don't know if it still says that in my bio on Twitter. It used to be like, I'd rather be hated than a hater. Because I'd rather you know, do all of that. I don't want to be that person with like hate in my heart. I never want to feel that. I feel like things happen and I just keep it moving, you know.
What advice can you give to the ladies out there that want to not necessarily be you, but be in that position and be successful and maybe even go on the radio?
Well, as far as being on the radio, I would say this was advice I got early on. Just take every opportunity to be in that space, be heard, to hone your craft. So if you have an opportunity to be on a podcast, to go on the radio, to do overnights, to move to another town, do what you have to do. Because once you get your foot in the door, you know, that's the first step. Networking is important. I've seen people go from being a receptionist to being, you know, a host on morning shows. And so you just have to get in that space and make yourself somebody that people, you know, can rely on. Because I think when you work in radio, you never know when that opportunity is going to come. You could be working in sales and it's like, oh, we need you for this. You know, you just got, and I think it's important to vocalize what you want. You know, it's one thing to get in a space, but then it's a whole nother thing when you are like, look, just so you know, I am interested in X, Y, and Z. Would you mind if I learn how to do this, learn how to do the boards? That's another way that people get on the air. If they know how to run their own board, then you have the opportunity to jump in because it's always somebody messing up somewhere. And so if you can step in and fill a void and kind of save the day, we've seen people get opportunities because they had the skills and they were ready and the timing was right because they were in the right place.
Dope. All right. What's next for you?
Oh, next? Well, you know, I said after this building gets done, I need to take a little hiatus. I was like, I am not investing in no more things until I stack my money back up again and get ready for that. But it's going to happen. So I think right now I just want to focus on getting this building like occupied. I want to get into this permanent mortgage. I want to be able to at least get some of that capital back that I put in. I've pretty much finished my house in Brooklyn, so I'm really excited about getting all of like the major things done that had to get done. And so for me, just Way Up with YEE is always a priority. My coffee shop, coffee uplifts people. You know, we have our liquor license now. We're right down the block.
Nice.
So we've been doing different events there. And so I just want to really build that up where we can start to franchise.
Dope. Okay. And lastly, what's a book recommendation? Because I know you love to read.
Oh, I told you, I just read Hate the Game yesterday by Daryl Fairweather. So love that book. She was inspired by Freakonomics. And so it's kind of like a 2025 version of that. But I love any book that I could learn things from, but also enjoy. Because she compares things like Destiny's Child, you know, to economics. And so it's really interesting. Or she'd talk about Big Brother and how the first 22 seasons, there were no black people that made it like to the finals. But then when George Floyd happened, they had 6 black people on Big Brother and they all made it to the finals. You know, it's just interesting when you talk about like how and why things happen and how it affects the economy. So that was an interesting read for me.
All right, dope. Well, hopefully we'll see some fiction books or a screenplay or something written by you in the future. But,
I already know what I'm doing.
Okay. All right. Well, I can't wait to hear about it. Until then, thank you so much for joining me on Mask Off. Appreciate you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Yeah. See you soon.